Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm presenting this speech for my colleague in Wagner. I have to acknowledge she made the most work of this research project. My name is Christoph Bleicher, and I work for the second research party in this project called Casting Skin, and we had a look at the influence of the casting skin on nodular cast iron. So some of you might have followed my presentation in the noon, dealing also with nodular cast iron and material defect, and now we're looking at the casting. The casting skin is more or less present everywhere in every component made of nodular cast iron. We're talking about thin wall applications for automotive industry. We're talking about larger components for wind energy, and just as an example, if we compare here two components for the automotive industry, one that is more or less finished, shot blasted, so more or less ready for milling and then for installing, and an untreated version right after the demolding with some sand on the rim zone. Then we can compare the microstructure. We have here the bulk material, this time a ferritic material, and we have a small rim zone here where we have perlite, where we have some porosities and all this stuff. And if it's untreated, then we have mostly a thicker layer and additionally also some sand on it. And now we have to see how this affects the lifetime of the component. The casting skin itself has some contents. We have porosity and we have non-metallic inclusions. Then also some deviations from the microstructure. You might have a pelletic rim zone when you have originally in the bulk material a ferritic matrix. And here depicted you see the molding material, then the casting skin with the roughness and all these, let me say, defects and imperfections. But you can also have a sand core in the same situation. This might be a different sand, it might be a different molding situation, but in any case you will have here also a casting skin. And there it's a question, especially in this case when you have cores, what is the lifetime of such a component when you are probably able to remove the sand but not do a pre-treatment of the component, meaning a shot blasting or something like this. So here in this case we might talk about a hydraulic system. And the degenerated graphite that we might have in the rim zone comes then from a reaction of the magnesia in the melt and the sulfur and oxygen in the molding system, creating something in between of a good material and a completely degenerated rim zone. In the project, we focus on degenerated graphite layers with a ferritic and pelletic matrix. We got a lot of information from industrial partners in the project that provided us with components, larger and smaller ones, and we detected that this situation, the degenerated graphite, so more or less the lamellar graphite in a ferritic and pelletic matrix makes up 80% of all the casting skins in the industry. The bulk material that we investigated is a GJS 415, and we also had a look on the pelletic 702 and the high silicon 540, but this will not be content of the presentation. I will only focus on the 400. So we have the casting component, and we have then the rim zone itself and the roughness of the component. The roughness and the rim zone together is the casting skin, and the rim zone itself. The rim zone itself is then containing of degenerated graphite, so lamellar graphite, in a pelletic or ferritic matrix. From our project partners from Aachen, we got some samples with different conditions. So we have here a type 1 with a normal bulk material and only a roughness, so there was more or less no rim zone, so no deviation in the matrix and no deviation in the graphite size and form. And in the second type we had then, additionally to the roughness and the bulk material, the situation that we had a rim zone with a pelletic matrix and a ferritic matrix where the lamellar graphites were embedded. And to get a first information about the fatigue life, and this is what I want to present to you now, we took bending specimens to get a first information about the influence of the rim zone. And we chose bending specimens because we have a stress gradient that we can superpose to this specific structure here of the component, and we are with this component, with this specimen close to component, because of components we always have stress gradients and so on. So in the first step we remove completely manufactured specimens from the bulk material, and in the second step we took the specimen from type 1 bulk material and the roughness, and then in the third step you can imagine we have the bulk material, the roughness, and in between that this special rim zone with the pearlitic and ferritic matrix. We performed 2-point bending tests under air, test frequency around 40 Hertz, and under alternating, also tensile loading. And yeah, now let us have a look at the results. We look here at the SN diagram. We have here in blue this N curve for the results that we obtain on completely machined specimens. If we have then additionally here a surface roughness, so these are the specimens from type 1, and we have to take into account for this specific specimen size and this specific stress gradient, we have to take into account a reduction of about 80% at the knee point in the allowable stresses. The surface roughness in this context is about 90 micrometer. And if we additionally then go to the type 2, we see that we have an additional reduction factor of about 34% when coming from the specimen only with the roughness. And then we see that we have here really a strong influence coming from the rim zone. But what we also see is that the matrix of the rim zone, so the ferritic or pearlitic matrix, makes no additional effect due to the laminar graphite and the internal notch effect that we have from the laminar graphite in this rim zone. So there is no difference if you have a ferritic or pearlitic matrix. What might change the fatigue strength when we talk about nodules in the rim zone. But here in this case with the laminar graphite, there's no influence. Kim then additionally wanted to have a look at the influence of the thickness of the rim zone of the casting skin that deviated from specimen to specimen. And so she made a classification and had a look and doing a lot of metallographic investigations on the thickness of the rim zone, and made a classification in 3 classes when we have about 2 to 10% of rim zone in comparison to the complete cross section, and up to 20 to 30% rim zone here in relation to the complete cross section. But there are some special, let me say, some special results or some special rim zone characteristics when we have, we call it a certain foothill coming from this mountain more or less that we have here, reaching quite deep into the bulk material. She treated this additionally in a 4th class. And if we classify this now, we see here again there's N curve for the specimens with the rim zone, with the roughness, and we see that the specimens having really a thin layer have a higher fatigue strength in comparison to those having really 30% of the rim zone, a proportion of the rim zone in the fatigue specimens. Those data we now want to use in comparison to data we obtained on components. So the automotive component you saw right at the beginning was also fatigue tested at LBF and SIN, and now we want to see how we can, with the help of numerical analysis, go to a lifetime assessment based on the data we gathered here on these simplified specimens. And this is then the task that we have to follow in the next weeks. Just to summarize my presentation, I tried to show you some information and some results of the research project where we try to gather information about the casting skin due to the special characteristics of the casting skin and the reduction on the fatigue life and the allowable stresses on nodular cast iron. And what we saw that is we have typically a ferritic pellitic matrix with lamellar graphite inside the rim zone, and that the ferritic matrix or the pellitic matrix makes no difference in the fatigue strength if we have this present, but we see that we have a strong reduction factor when we have not only a roughness but additionally this specific rim zone. And the next steps we need to do, we want to set up a numerical model including all this data from the bulk material, from the rim zone and the surface roughness. So we made roughness measurements, we have strength control fatigue data from the rim zone and also from the bulk material made on really, really thin specimens. And this will all then contribute to a numerical model and an assessment concept to make then a component lifetime assessment. And if we have this information and if we can model and, let me say, reassess the lifetime of the bending specimens, then we are also able to make an assessment of the component, because there we have also stress gradients, but we might have a thinner or thicker layer of the castings. And this will be done then in the next steps. Take some time. Yeah. Now, I have to acknowledge the IGF, IF, and BWI for the funding of the project, and also the colleagues from the industry and the other research partners contributing to this work. And yeah, finally, sorry, not too fast. Thank you for your attention. Yeah, I'm open for questions.